everyone, welcome to the episode of the Western Entrepreneur. Thanks for joining us, whether you're watching with us here on video or listening to us on your commute to wherever you're going here. I'm Dave Schaub, I'm your host of the Western Entrepreneur podcast. Thanks for joining us. Before we dive into today's guest, I just want to give a quick shout out to our next business social networking event. It's March 20th, it's a Monday at 6 p.m. at Hi-Fi Records, right in the town of Williamsville. This is like, I didn't know these existed, in 2023, but it's actually like an old-fashioned record store with a 2023 like modern theme to it. You can actually pick a song or a record that you want to be played during the actual networking part. Your first beer is on us. Yes, there's a bar in the record store. So if you want to have some 1980s, 90s nostalgia with some social networking, again, we're about who you are first, what you do second. Make sure you go to our Eventbrite on our social media links, our email list, and make sure you RSVP for that before all the tickets sell out for that. So let's get to the real reason why you're here. We have Ginine Capozzi right here, who actually is the owner and founder of
KnowledgeForce Consulting.
KnowledgeForce Consulting. Thanks for doing that for me. So Ginine, what exactly is KnowledgeForce Consulting? What problems do you solve? And more importantly, how did you get into this?
How I got into this was a good brother-sister throwdown. It was I don't want to give you my age, but it was 11 years ago, just about. And my brother sent me a birthday card that said, "Put up or shut up, we're all tired of you talking."
Okay.
And in it had my business paperwork to register as a business. And what that business is and what that background is training solutions. I provide large training programs, small ones too if we need to, but basically training programs for companies to have operations-specific and organization-specific training. And where that came from goes back even further than that. But a couple pieces of the story are that I started out my first job out of college. My company spent a lot of time and money to send me through a training program. HR did what HR does. They called me in, manager calls me in. How'd that training go? And I was like, it was okay. They're like, okay, right? I go, well, there was like a piece of it was pretty good, but I mean, I don't know, like, how do I get involved in that? I think I could do it better. I mean, what 22-year-old kid, right? None of us as business owners today have heard the 22-year-old kid come in and say, hey, I think I could do that better.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit of my background. I got started in that and started to learn about training and development and had an interest in it. Fast forward, I'm in my 30s when my brother throws down because I'm working for a small business and keep going home and saying, I think I could do this better. And that
so eventually they got sick of I can do it better, and they're like, just do it or not.
Just do it or not. Essentially, just do it or not.
I thought they were like something you got to get out of the business, like a family business, but it sounds like he's like, all right, yeah, put up or shut up because we're done.
Yeah, we're done listening to you say that you could do it. If you could do it, put up or shut up.
You know what? Sounds like that might have been the push you might have needed, or not so much.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That idea of getting over the hump of like not being afraid, like sink or swim, and you know what? So what, you fail, and you get back up and you do something else. Like, is it really failure if you tried it, learned something?
So what took you, in your opinion, so long to take that step? Like what was it? Was it more afraid of failure? Was it? I'll let you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think for myself, it really had a lot to do with two things. One, it's a little bit of ego. I was on top of my game. I was making a lot of money, doing really well already.
You're comfortable.
And I was pretty comfy, right? But I wasn't comfy enough, because if I was comfy enough, I wouldn't keep saying I could do it better, I could do it better, I could do it differently, we could do it the world according to Ginine, right? So it was kind of a false story I was telling myself. The other thing is, you put yourself in a position where I have a mortgage and things, and you get comfy dependent upon like the stuff and the life of what that is, and it looks really scary. But what I always tell people is the engineer in me, because that was what I had gone to school for, was print management and packaging engineering. So this little water bottle right here that I got with me, it's designing things like that and packages related to that, food industry. And I was just kind of comfy with where I was, but the engineer drew on that skill and said, I can mitigate my risk. And what do I need to do to mitigate my risk to make my leap happen?
So you were like an engineer, that's kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so it was kind of a combination of things, but yes, part of my degree was in packaging engineering and printing management, which anything that you see printed other than that digital screen is something we have to manufacture and do. And so I was focused on the food printing industry.
That's such a niche to go to school for. I didn't know you could like get a degree in that.
I know, neither did my parents.
Yeah. really cool though.
Yeah.
It's very niche here. So,
Yeah.
I found out that, you can't put all engineers in one headspace here, but when I think of engineers, I think they have to see the process before, because you have to do the process before you see the result, right?
Right.
So you see you can do it better, but you have to kind of make sure all your ducks in a row before that. Is that safe to describe how you wanted it, or were you like, no, I was just kind of comfortable in the other thing you're talking?
No, that's a great way to say it. I think it was a bit of a combination. I could see that there was something else I wanted to do. Engineers also, depending on the type of engineer, but you have to be strategy driven, right? I have to see that the strategy, the big picture of where I'm trying to go can connect with the process in which I'm trying to get there. And then for me, it's like, well, what's the facts, data, support that gets me there? Who are the people that I need to be surrounded by in order to get me there? And so, yeah, I think there was some process in it. It was trusting it. It was like that idea of knowing that I didn't just work for all these years to save money, have a house, do all this stuff, and at the end of the day, lose it all because I took this stupid, crazy risk.
Yeah.
But I think what my brother showed me was sometimes when you risk nothing, you risk more.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So it's been 11 years since that day, kind of correct?
Yeah, coming up very soon. My birthday's March 10th, so by the time this probably drops,
your birthday's here.
my birthday's
Well, happy
here.
birthday ahead of time.
Thank you.
So it sounds like you started around your birthday then, right?
Yeah, because it was my birthday gift was the card.
Oh, okay, that makes sense to me now.
Yeah.
Connected to you,
No,
right?
you're good.
So that being said, it's been 11 years. What is your favorite part about what you do? Is it the trainings? Is it the consulting part? What is your favorite part?
Yeah, I didn't actually really tell you answer that original question.
Okay.
So what we do is we help companies strategize, build their strategy. We partner with them to figure out, is it just like a one-time thing, or how can we do this as a larger thing to change behavior? Because that's my tagline and that's what I really believe in. We need to reimagine training. So the tagline is training reimagined, right? How can we do this differently? Because you've all heard the story. People go, I've got to go to training today. Oh, I got to go to training today. And then businesses are frustrated by it because it doesn't work. And they get frustrated by the fact that they spend all this money, do all this stuff. It doesn't.
Is it a mandatory educational that they have to do, or is it just
most of the time it's related to they want to give employees an opportunity to learn and grow, or there's something changing in the business, and as a result of it changing in the business, they do need to teach them something. But businesses aren't being very strategic about it. So my background is to help them set the strategy. How do we then professionalize the training to make it in a way that sticks so that there is behavior change? And what systems and processes, see, that's engineering me, coming through to have to make sure that we can sustain that change over time.
Okay.
And so that's what I do. I go in and help companies do that. My favorite part of it really is the bookends of it, which are this idea of what's the strategy to get us where we want to go. And then, okay, we have this event, we do some training, but how do we make it really stick and have the light bulbs go off for people over and over again? And most companies only focus on the middle. They focus on the training event and they don't focus on the bookends.
Do you think that a lot of people hate trainings just because it's just not engaging, or do you think it's just drawn out? From you, obviously this is your background. What do you think most people dread about it?
Yes and yes. I think they just don't like going. I think they anticipate it to be boring. I think they can't figure out how I take classroom to real world and where's that connection in between. And that is all about the learning piece of it. I got to get you some foundational content, but we got to figure out the way that it works in your world. And I always go in and say, I can give you some systems and ideas. The training that we go through is this idea of what does it actually mean in your business, your life, for you as a person. I don't want to go in, people don't want to be changed. So I hear that all the time. I heard this last week when I was in a workshop. They're like, Ginine, I've been this way for like 60 years. I'm not changing. I'm 5 years from retirement. I'm like, I'm not trying to change you. I like you authentically who you are. I want to give you a couple tools, ways to think about the world, get outside your own proverbial box, your mindset, and move into this idea of I can do that in my way that works for me with my internal knowledge that I know.
So for the business owners that are listening and they're like, yeah, I actually have this ask it this way: where are businesses going wrong with their trainings, like in general? Like so if you could, again, it's tough, we can't say this to the person because we don't want to be offensive, right? Oh, you've been doing this wrong for 20 years, this is why it's going this way. So if you can kind of grab the mic and be like, stop doing this with your trainings, what would it be?
What I would say is stop sending people to event-based training.
Event-based training.
Yes. That means it's this one-time thing. We have a problem we're trying to solve. I send it to you one time. You want me to come in one day, one time, and fix this in 6-hour workshop and then call it done. No, that's maybe like going to a nutritionist, and because I got the nutrition plan, now I'm skinny.
Right.
Like, come on, it doesn't work that way.
So what do you think are next steps they can take to stop doing that?
So I think they can hire me, but right? But I think the thing is they need to think about the strategy. What is the problem I'm trying to solve? Go upstream. What's the strategy? How does it connect to the business problem they're trying to solve? And what are they willing to do differently in their systems and structures to support that training thing they learned? If they're not willing to do the after work, don't waste your money. Don't call me.
Yeah, so we kind of answered the question of what can make trainings be more effective here. But anything else that you kind of want to touch on the subject before we go to our next question here?
Sure. So I've really gotten into something called gamified learning, which I'm not talking about immersive video games, but this idea of how do I use kind of gaming mechanics to create learning points. And the more I've been getting into this concept, it blows my mind. We have 199 motivators. That's what they've identified behaviorally. 199 different things motivate you.
You couldn't figure out one more to make it a nice, easy 200.
Right?
But anyways, 199.
Because 199 helps it stick out in your brain more than 200. Yeah. And so this idea of 199, we can bring some of those mechanics into a classroom setting. When I bring those little things in, you remember it. The other day, I had a classroom shooting dice. They're like, we're going to shoot dice today? I was like, oh yeah, get down on the ground. We're shooting dice.
Nice, yeah.
And they're like, to do what? I was like, to start shouting out things that you remember. If you hit a 6, you got to shout out 6 things. So everybody wants the 1 today, not the 6.
Right.
Right? But they'll remember it because we literally got on the ground and started rolling dice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So so shout out to Zizzo, by the way. They do gamification and stuff like that. So I totally am like understanding your world here in terms of the gamification. It's a nice way to motivate people in a different way because people are motivated. I'd love to see those 199. Do you go over all 199?
Heck no.
I was going to say, because that is quite a book right there.
No. That's where the strategy comes in with people. We try to figure out general profiles of who your learners are and what works in your environment. And then from there, we kind of tailor the way training works and the sustained systems and processes.
I have to mention when you're meeting with businesses, because I got to mention a lot of small business owners here, they only have a couple employees, or maybe they have 5 or 10 they're new, or they're a startup and training sounds expensive. We're paying somebody to do this training for us. So for those that don't have a big budget, what are some tips and tricks they can do to do a good training?
To do a good training? Don't just do it the way you want to be trained. Most people train the way they like it. If they like checklists, they want people to use checklists. If they like general directions and self-discovery and figuring it out on their own, that's how they teach people. You've got to ask people how do they learn best and adapt your style to teaching them. That's one thing. Second thing is get started training. They just don't do it. There's no organization. And Google has identified, because they've identified everything, right? Yeah. That one of the number one things that small businesses and managers in general miss all the time is this idea of really just getting started, telling people what the expectations of their job are.
Okay.
On week 1, if you don't have a calendar planned for at least the first 2 weeks of somebody working for you with like who to talk to, what to do, and let them know their expectations, they will already be looking for their next job.
Yeah, because the expectations haven't been set. Right? I don't know. Yeah. You told me in a general sense what I need to do, but I actually don't know what I should be doing.
And if I'm doing it well, so they underperform. They either don't live up to a standard that's in your brain that you don't realize that you have, or they're exceeding it, but they think that they're failing at it.
Yeah, keep going.
So just kind of thinking about that whole process, just thinking about that entire process is a big deal.
Yeah. Because you're so right. Because for me, when I hire people, I'm like, do they have it? Do they not have it? I'm like, I got to be very detailed. Like, one thing is like, I think people want to be careful not over micromanaging people. We don't want them to feel micromanaged, but we want them to know what they're actually doing right, what they're doing wrong. And I say this all the time, but like, I think the reason why a relationship goes wonky, business or personal or coworker, is that expectation didn't meet reality.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, so what are ways you're saying just systemize really the first 2 weeks? You're saying like, now, it's almost like making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You can't just say make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, hey, you got to put your hand in the upright position, grip the the knife, and then put it downwards at a 90-degree angle, put into the cup. Like I know it sounds weird, but someone who's never made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, they would look like that, right?
Yeah, in some ways it's what it is for sure. And I think that it's more this idea that we're having conversations around what that needs to be and what that looks like. So you nailed it, this idea that we're missing connections, right? Around something known as ability and attitude. What's your ability and attitude for this job? So at the beginning, first week on the job, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? You might have a lot of enthusiasm for making the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but I do not have the knowledge and skill set yet to be able to do that. You need to be a much closer to me, micromanaging. But at the beginning, that doesn't feel like micromanagement.
Right.
That feels like engagement and support.
Okay.
If I've been there now and I've proven I can make some damn good peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and I've gotten creative, I added some bananas to them, maybe a little bit of fluff, and I'm still enthusiastic about my ability to do them, and you're still coming in there telling me how to put the knife into the jar, that's when it becomes micromanagement.
I love that idea.
So you see what I mean?
Totally
It's totally different, right? At the beginning, micromanagement just feels like a great manager who's supportive. Over time, that feels like a controlling manager who won't let me succeed. Opposite end, you say, hey, here's the peanut butter, here's the jelly, here's the bread, have at it. First week on the job, I look around and I go, that jerk, he's not even here to help me.
Right.
And now you think you're being an empowering manager, letting me have my way, and I do it my way, and I look at you and go, he's never even around to help me.
Yeah.
What kind
and
of leader
even
is
worse in training to go, like, hey, we're here to support you, we're with you, and you're like, I'm in this room with this jar, I don't even know if he wants the sandwich cut in 4 or halves or have it whole, do you want the crust cut off? Like, I know we're totally doing a whole peanut butter and jelly analogy here off the top of our head here. But it's totally true, and I love that because sometimes I'm sitting here going as a business owner, am I over micromanaging? Like, I want to tell them what to do so they know the expectations are set right, but I don't want them to feel micromanaged because I hate when people try to do that to me, or I hated it when I was younger.
So you want to know the best question?
Yeah.
Best question is, how are you feeling about what I've asked you to do? Can you share with me the first two or three things? What obstacles do you anticipate encountering? If you can have a conversation based upon around those 3 questions, you will very quickly recognize whether or not they actually have the enthusiasm and the knowledge to build the peanut butter and jelly sandwich and run with it, or if they have a few more. And if they say, I don't know, we might get to the bottom of the jar to overplay this analogy and we ran out of jelly, and you go, great, we ran out of jelly, what are you gonna do? And they're gonna go, well, I could run to the store, I could just give you a peanut butter sandwich, we could add some bananas, I can be creative and add some honey, like I could, whatever. If you go, oh, they're working past the obstacle. If they look at you and go, I don't know, I'd ask you, well then you know where you stand. Doesn't make it wrong that they would ask you, you just know where their bumper, where the bumper guards have to be, where the rails have to be on what that is.
Yeah.
So most small business owners are so busy doing their own job. We want somebody and bring somebody in to take it from us and run with it and execute it. They can if you have conversations around it, and that's how you manage to the missed expectations.
I can see so many people rolling their eyes, but conversations take time. They take mental capacity, right? We're already so burning the candles at both ends here, right? But so for those that are listening, by the way, or watching, I want to just pause for a second because we just went over a lot of stuff about training, really employee engagement, micromanaging. What stuck out to you so far? What is one next step you can take as a business owner, whether it's training, whether it's micromanaging, whether it's just getting people on the same expectations in reality? I think that's really important we do that because, as you know, you probably see it every day, when people ignore these things, it's like a slow, painful death where all of a sudden, why did that employee leave? Why did this happen? Or, oh, another training that kind of came and go and nothing changed. We can really miss the ball. These small changes can make pretty big waves in our business here.
And that's the thing. So this is not my intellectual property idea. It's another gentleman's. But one of his things that he said was, the difference between 211 degrees to 212 is a difference between really hot water and steam. And so the whole idea is, what's 1 degree of difference? A lot of business owners, no matter the size, or even if you're listening to a person who's employed in a large company in the area, right? We take it on as we have to take all the change at once. There's so much to do. You don't need to do that when it comes to training. It's the picking the one thing, nailing it, and keep going after it over and over until it's embedded and habitual. Then you pick the next thing.
Right.
So maybe for these business leaders who are listening to us right now, maybe it's just to say, I'm going to ask the question, how confident are you in what I told you today? And what's your comfort level with it? Okay. If someone is honest with you and says, and gives you the subtle, then don't go putting them in the deep end of the pool.
Right.
If they say, I've got it, then they've got it.
Right.
Don't go putting their life vest on.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I love that. So that being said, just to switch gears a little bit here, and I really love this question when I saw it, when it goes, basically how do you handle an employee when they want a big promotion, but there's no promotion to be available? Sometimes when you're building like from 5 to 8 employees, that big promotion isn't there because maybe they don't need that leadership position yet, or maybe is one, they're both qualified, but you can only choose one person. I was really interested to ask you that question. So what is your thoughts behind that?
Oh, this is the hardest one because people want to continue having their own professional growth. And it's an uncomfortable conversation for everybody to have. My answer is let's be honest as we can. And don't dangle the pretend carrot of it someday happening or promising something you can't deliver. What I encourage people to say is let's just be honest together. I would love to be able to give you a promotion. We are a small business. I don't know how long that's going to take, but in the meantime, let's build up whatever skills we can to help you get your promotion, whether it's here or somewhere else. And in the meantime, if that employee is very dedicated to you, you're still getting work and good things out of them in the moment. Everything has an expiration date, to play off our little peanut butter and jelly, right? But everything has a shelf life. And business relationships do too. Client relationships, employee relationships. I mean, we're gonna, die someday too. I'm gonna expire.
We have expiration dates.
I've got an expiration date. And so I think what business owners feel is they get frustrated or disappointed, sad, angry, mad, whatever, that they have developed and worked with somebody, and then it feels personal that person leaves to go somewhere else for that promotion. We feel like we need to keep them forever. We don't need to keep them forever. We need to keep them for as long as the relationship is serving us all.
Right, and both sides.
Both sides and our clients as well. It's a multi-sided situation.
So that being said, I'm just sitting here going, so when someone is really great, but you don't have a promotion, it's not serving them, they're overqualified for that. Is that the conversation you suggest to business owner, right? Like, hey, you're overqualified, you should find another job?
Do you want to know how I would say it? Or are you saying, is that the answer? Is that what you would do?
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you were the business owner and someone came to you and they want promotion, rightfully so, they're totally overqualified, they've totally proven themselves. There's not one anytime soon, we're talking the next few years here inside, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to dangle the carrot. What would you say to that person?
I would be really honest. And I would say, if I was in your position, I would probably want to be doing that too. And I understand. I think we've got a great thing here, and I don't want to see you jump from, this situation into the fire, so to speak. I want to make sure that whatever position you move to and whatever company you go to, that it's not that's going to serve you well.
Yeah.
And so how can I help you continue to build skills here so that you are ready for that thing you want to be? I have had people who've come to me and said, do you think I'd be qualified for this next position? And I've said, honestly, I think it's a little over your head right now, but let's work on some things here that you can help me with that will position you for it there, so that when you move on, you continue to rise. You don't sink because you weren't ready. Now, if somebody's really ready, I say you're really ready, and it's going to hurt when you go and get that job. But go get it. But before you go, can you help me finish what we need to do here? This project, this piece, organizing, documenting, hiring, preparing a replacement, whatever it is, can we do this together? It takes maturity to be able to do it.
Right.
But you never burn a bridge that way.
I think that's so good because then, let's be honest, we're being humans here. And I know it's so easy to get caught up in like the numbers and what was best for our business or for ourselves here. When we look at it from such a grand scheme of like, these are human beings who want to further their life, their business, their skills. They want to chase, their passions or really things that they're trying to grow in here. And when, if someone said it to me, like the way you just kind of said it to the audience here, I'm like, wow, this person actually gives a crap about me, right?
Yeah.
It makes it actually harder to leave. And let's be honest, it's kind of like that clingy ex-boyfriend or girlfriend who's like, I don't really want you to go. Now you're like, even if you're not thinking about going, you're like, maybe I should go. This person's a little, but when they sit there and go, hey, I understand, I want to do what's best for you because I care about you as a human being, for me, that almost makes you want to stay more because I know that's hard to find in today's world.
It is, and the thing is that all the data backs this up. Not in the way that I said it and did it, but this idea of people want to feel valued. And when they're wanting to feel valued in the situation, that conversation says, I see you. I understand you. You are part of our team. You mean something. You contribute, and you are going to contribute elsewhere. I'm not going to easily be able to replace you. That's what I'm saying. When I say, let's do this right. Let's do this what's best for you. It can be a win for everybody. We pin it all against like this competition. It's not a competition. It's a rising all together. Because you want to know what? One last thought on this. When they go somewhere else and they have to find a replacement, what do they go out there and they say about me? They're going to say, if it was about me as Ginine, right? Ginine was a really great boss. She saw my potential. She helped me find it. She actually helped me get this next position. You would love working for her.
Right.
She does these great things. She walks the talk that she goes into companies and talks about all the time, right? So my reputational value is a little self-serving in the sense that it rises me up as well.
That's really good. And so that being said, like I think that is just so cute because we can't hold on to people longer than they should be had for because they have a journey, we have a journey. And that's just part of the process. And we take the human side completely into that. Like everything just works out in the end. And I think that in the end of our lives, because again, we all expire here, it's like, cool, like is really the 4% growth being more important than making sure everybody's taken care of in their journey, what they're going for next. And I think just being super open and super honest about that. And what I really love about what you said was like, hey, there isn't this position, this isn't available, but I do think you need these skills to get the position you want. So why don't we work on that while you're here? Because now it's really about them. Let's be honest, they're going to put their heart and soul into that because they want to learn that because they know that that's going to help them in their next thing. Because when people are just like, oh, it's not going to happen, I'm just doing the same thing even though I already mastered this, they do shit work. And when they do shit work, it's because they're not excited about it.
Exactly. They're totally disengaged. Now I've given them a way to be re-engaged on a special project within my company, on something that could advance us further. And maybe, just maybe, it doesn't feel so appealing to go elsewhere because I got the challenge here, even without the title promotion or a bit of the salary change that I want for a little while. It won't keep people forever, but it could keep them a little longer.
You'd be surprised.
And it positions you in a different way to be successful when the next person comes on in.
So we got to pause. I got to stop here for a second. So far, no, you're good. Like just for time purposes, right?
Yeah.
I do this for hours. But so for you, so is there an employee in your organization or someone that works with you, for you, maybe anybody that's in your organization that you think is just disengaged? Maybe pull them aside and say, hey, like, what are you excited about? What's your expertise? What, again, being honest, like, where do you see yourself here? What skills you need to learn how to do that? And then put them in a position to maybe, you never know, they could align where you want to grow anyways is now their new found love or passion or what maybe they wanted to get into HR, right? And then you're like, well, you're here, but you got to learn this skill set. So we want to get better in this anyway. So why don't we align you with this?
Exactly.
Because I think that's so huge. It's so strategic. And it gets people engaged because if we keep them where they are, they're going to do crap work, which means obviously the output from that from a quality standpoint. It also creates apathy within the workplace. That rubs off. Misery loves company, and people will take you down with them, right? Like, can you believe that Joe for 5 years hasn't done this and done that? But because they're not engaged, and naturally, sad people do sad people things.
Yeah.
So I think this is huge. But for time purposes, I have one more question.
All right.
Okay?
I'm having too much fun here.
Yeah.
Do I really have to go?
We have to leave.
All right, you're kicking me out. I got
it. So people talk about finding really good people, good employees, good people in general. And again, that was another question we had down here, and I thought that was awesome. So tell me, why did you put that question down, and what are your thoughts on that?
About finding good people?
Yeah. Like people are so hard to find good people these days, right? Like, oh yeah, preach to the choir here. I love that question. So what are your thoughts on that?
So my whole thoughts about that is the conversation that we just had. When you become a magnet for a business that helps people rise and grow, people want to work for you, the reputation gets out. That you're somebody who's good to work with, you're fun, you care, you're invested, you value them, you see them. That you want your people to be coming from the people who left you. Not because they left you because you were crappy and they tell you to not go work for you, but they tell them, oh, that was the best training ground ever, or I loved working there. And so many businesses get scared of training people because they're afraid they're going to leave. And the reality of it is, we are going to be stuck in this marketplace of hotbed of talent, lack of access to people. We just don't have enough workers in this country. You could get a whole other podcast all about that, but we just don't have enough people to fill the jobs that we need to get filled. So you've got to give people a chance who you might not think of giving a chance to. And part of that comes from reputation building of a place people want to be.
So water the grass you have.
Water the grass you
Water
have.
the grass you have is what I got out of that. You're totally right. Like, I love saying, like, you teach what you know, but you reproduce who you are. So for us, like, if I want to, have these good workers, I got to really make sure I'm honing on the ones that I do have that are great, right? Or that are good, that have that potential, and helping them filling it, like we just talked about here.
And helping them see it for themselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can see skills and strengths in people that other people can't see in you. My brother kicking me off kicking me off here into my business, basically saying, "Put up or shut up."
Yeah.
It wasn't because he thought I'd fail. It was because he thought I'd succeed.
Right.
He could see something I couldn't see.
So congrats on your success. 11 awesome years. Happy birthday ahead of time. For those that really just vibe with you, they're like, okay, like, if this is the 30-minute free stuff, what's the paid stuff look like, right? What is the best way for business owners to contact you, to either grab coffee with you, pick your brain, or possibly have you in for a training? What's the best way?
So I absolutely love that. Thanks for the ask. LinkedIn is the best way to do it. My name is spelled uniquely. It's Ginine Capozzi, so it looks like GI9. But they can find me on LinkedIn and go from there. And I love to have virtual coffee. I love to have in-person coffee, and I'm willing to just kind of kick around ideas. So if you have a problem, an employee you're struggling with, a decision you're trying to make, trying to determine if a certain training program with another vendor is the right one for you, I am happy to give you some free direction and guidance and see where it goes.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming here today. Thank you for your time. I know you were out of town. You came back in. And again, I know our audience is going to love this. Thank you.
Thanks so much. It was great being with you.